Hey everyone, welcome to another devlog of Vampires vs Aliens. It's number 8. Got quite a few new exciting things to show in this devlog, and yeah, the game's really starting to come along. At least for, the project of scope that it is. So the first and most immediate thing is we have sound now. We have sounds for attacking, we have sounds for taking damage, for dealing damage, for the enemy dying. We also have sounds for level up. No music yet, but otherwise we have a bunch of sounds. Now, obviously, these sounds are pretty horrendously terrible, but that is more just to show that it's working, give some of the feedback for the players and for people testing. Obviously, we will seek to replace those with proper sound effects at a later date, but having them in means it's hopefully just a matter of copy and paste, or just pasting the sound files where we need them, and that's that. The other cool new thing is we have a melee attack now, which is called Swipe. It took a little bit of finagling to get in, but we have it. We have a new support skill, which is this lifesteal one called Blood Suck. We are, of course, going to add a Mana Suck, and yeah, you can take multiple skills, as I think we've already shown that. I think that was in a previous devlog, but it's pretty easy to swap between the skills. Which is an awesome little thing. So, talking about this melee attack, the most important thing about it is, unlike a projectile attack, let me just equip it, is it is obviously not going out particularly far. It does more damage, costs a bit more mana, has a longer cooldown, but the higher damage is probably worth it, at least for this early game against enemies. You'll see a few new passive icons, right? Some more quality of life things. Max HP has an icon, crit chance has an icon, armor has an icon. Here's some of the sound effects that would add it to the passive tree. This is the lifesteal passive tree. Not everything has an icon yet. We haven't got one for life gain yet. We do have one for dodge stacks. We do have mana regen and max mana icons, which I think I really like our mana regen icon in particular. I think it looks real spiffy. We have a crit damage icon. So yeah, we're fleshing out some of the missing parts for point 3. We're still not going to have a bunch of notables. I'm probably going to just put in some stronger effects in there for now, just so that there's not empty nodes, and with passive trees that I've laid out like this, I don't want this to feel sort of like a waste of a node taking. There's a few other quality of life things you might notice if you watch previous devlogs with the keen eye. These icons are now counter-rotating. This is particularly important for human figures. Before, this person would have rotated like 90 degrees or 72 degrees or more than that, depending on where it was. Now they all counter-rotate, so icons will always look the same regardless of branch. So if I unslot this, and maybe we'll do it down here, you can see that the person is still facing upright. So yeah, lots of little things like that. We're making really good progress. I'm really happy with the last 7 days of work. We're really on track to get a version 0.3, which is really a 0.2, but it ended up being big enough that I'm calling it 0.3. Test out. At this point, there's a few more things we're looking to do. We still need one more active skill. I'm looking to get Hemoport in, as in teleport, but it's blood, vampires versus aliens. So that's going to be some sort of like splash effect or something like that. Obviously this melee attack is pretty terrible. I don't think we'll need to get some proper art assets in for this, but in the meantime, I'm just happy that it works. So yeah, we're going to get a Hemoport in. We're going to need a few more support skills. So first we want to get a Mana Suck, Mana Lifesteal, or Mana Steal skill in, because we want mana to be a very solvable problem, but with multiple options. I probably even want to get Leyline in. So the idea of Leyline is you have mana regen as a skill. Leyline instead is going to give you a massive boost on mana regen when you use the skill, or something like that effect. So that's going to be an alternate way of solving that problem, which will have the added benefit of for skills that maybe use a lot of mana but don't do immediate damage. There's ways to get mana back. I think there'll be some interesting things. I have some ideas about how we can turn that into more interesting mechanics. That's probably going to be it for skills for version 0.3. Not that I don't want to do more, I definitely want to do more, but in terms of we need to get a cut, we need to get a testing, get some feedback on all of these new systems we've added. That's probably the two main things. So hopefully by the time of this next devlog, we'll have that. So that's it in terms of the content. Thank you for joining in for that if that's all you're here for. In terms of coding highlights, I guess there's a few things I think it's maybe worth calling out. So if we look at the code, we've done a bunch of cleanup to move things up to parents and just kind of streamlined how it goes about. So one little change recently with the add neighbors thing is we are now making sure that there is no longer any directionality. So previously, it turned out that if you didn't properly set up which nodes were dependents and which ones were prerequisites, you could potentially have node lines that wouldn't highlight. It would all work correctly, but it would look kind of jank. So that's fixed. For the level up menus and for all of that, we now have all of this util class that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. So it will have the options to generate active skills, generate random support skills, generate random active skills, and that will all be handled by this util class instead of bloating the player class. I think that's it for the most exciting stuff. I can't remember all of the different things that I've had to do. It's been a really busy couple of days. The sound stuff was generally pretty simple. It's just making sure you can play it. One little note here with the pain sounds for the player. I've made sure that there was multiple different ones, and that's going to carry forward when we get proper sound effects. I think it's really important that the sound isn't grating for the player, whether that's dealing damage or taking it. It's something we're going to keep an eye on when we start getting proper sound effects in, is if there's something that is annoying to hear too much, do we either play it less, play it quieter, or change the sound? It'll depend on the situation. But that's something we're looking at doing there. For the melee attack, I guess the last sort of thing that might be interesting to people, there is actually not that much code in the attack itself. And in fact, doing the melee attack ended up being also simpler than the projectile attacks. There's no need to calculate things like spread of projectiles as you increase it, right? It's just, this is where the attack is. So here's this position line code. That's the main thing that's different. The attack skill, instead of changing its position, it just plays its animation, has hurt frames while the animation is playing, and then when it disappears, it no longer has a hitbox. But this here tells its position. It says this is the angle vector, then go out 30, and then multiply that by the attack size. So as the attack gets bigger, it'll be further out and hopefully hit more targets. I think that's about it for things that I thought would be interesting. If there's any particular part of the code that people want to know more about, how did I get the passive tree working, how are all of the nodes connecting, it's worth noting there are some passive nodes that apply to the player versus the actual skill, and that's by design. What we want is players should be motivated but not forced to take multiple active skills. I know for some people they just want to press one button and that's it. In fact, I'm one of those players. I like to just press one button and never worry about anything and maybe have one or two other buttons to use in emergencies. So one way we're trying to incentivize multiple skills is to have these passive nodes here that are effectively the same thing as the skill damage, but they apply to all skills. So the diversification of your skills and your active skills will provide you more opportunities to buff the one skill that you are using, if that's what you're seeking to do. And we're hoping that as players are rewarded with knowledge, or as players learn the game rather, one of the benefits of it, one of the things that will come with experience is this active skill I don't really care about, but it has a bunch of passive nodes that I want for the skill that I am using. So that's something we're looking at. That's about it for this devlog. If you've got any questions, feedbacks, or thoughts, any feedback or thoughts, please let me know down in the comments. I hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for watching.